It is the 21st century, a future our ancestors did not foresee. Only 8 years until the effects of climate change are irreversible. Carbon dioxide levels are 50% higher than pre-industrial times, and mining companies in search of precious carbon materials are bleeding the earth dry. The clock is ticking midnight. With time running out, Up Catalyst offers the sustainable solution the world needs. Producing the gold of the future from CO2, which is killing our planet. CO2 from industrial emissions is pulled into a molten salt synthesis reactor. With the molten salt heated to a high temperature working as an electrolyte, CO2 undergoes the process of electrolysis. A voltage difference applied to electrodes kickstarts the process of breaking down the CO2 molecules. As a result, oxygen is released, with carbon being collected and then transported. The process is powered by wind, solar, or hydroelectric energy. The synthesized carbon is then purified and undergoes quality control to provide assurance about the desired properties. The result is pure nanocarbon or graphite catered to the needs of the customer, either in dispersion or powder form. Carbon nanomaterials can be valuable additives to electric car batteries, concrete, paints and coatings, biomedicine, and many other applications. It is time to make the active choice to pick a better tomorrow. One created by us. Up Catalyst, leading the world to sustainable carbon.
Hey, hello. Great to be here. I'm Gary Erb. I'm CEO of Up Catalyst. So let's talk about a little bit CO2 commercialization, carbon, and oxygen. So we have done a real damage to our environment. We have changed the world in a climate way. So the CO2 concentration has been stable for thousands of years. But when the industrialization era started, we have changed it dramatically. We have increased the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere more than 50%. So the CO2 is really blocking the heat going away from the atmosphere. So that's why we have these kind of droughts in Central Europe right now, in China, in US. And it has another, let's say, all the problems that causes to the environment. We have to get rid of this CO2. And we have to stop burning. We have to stop burning. We cannot do anything if we still keep burning everything, keep burning the fossil fuels. So Elon Musk has started a really great era. So this is the green technology era where we make electric vehicles, electric batteries, and these batteries, but are the batteries sustainable? They contain a lot of metals, okay, that's something we need to work on. They contain also a lot of graphite. Do you know that one electrical vehicle can contain about 66 kilograms of graphite in the batteries? Tesla S even contains 96 kilograms of graphite in the batteries. But these graphite needs, the graphite sources, we don't have that right now. The graphite, we need several times more graphite sources that are available today. That means actually if we are talking about 140 million electric vehicles by 2030, this means that we need tens of millions additional graphite on the market. And one of the problems is that this map is a little bit missing, but the 75% of the graphite is coming from China. And we need to secure the domestic supply chain. There are several battery manufacturers going to be built right now in Europe and in US, but the graphite is not there. It needs additional mines to get there. And And even what we recently learned is that the graphite, for example, which is made in Brazil from petrochemical sources, is still transported to China to further refining. This causes additional carbon footprints. So it's enormous CO2 numbers that are generated for making some kilos of graphite right now from mines. And of course, and the mining, this has a lot of impact to the environment. So this causes air quality problems, health problems, water pollutions, things like that. So that's also not good. So, and therefore, as the graphite is still needed for making those batteries and these green technologies, then EU, European Union, and also the US have both named graphite as a critical raw material. So we have to do something about that. So there comes up Catalyst. We have a really great solution. So we can take CO2 emission directly from the heavy industries, and with our electrolysis technology, we can turn this to highly valuable carbon materials. Of course, we need something. We need green energy for making that. But the good thing is that the byproduct that we have, this is oxygen. And I will talk about this oxygen a little bit later. So, talking about this technology a little bit closer, then we are really scientific, deep scientific research company. And what we are doing is that we are pumping the CO2 that we can take from the industries. We are pumping into our molten salt synthesis reactors. And this really breaks the molecule of CO2 to carbon and oxygen, and the carbon is deposited on the electrode, on the cathode. We pull it out, the electrodes, we scrape the materials off, and purify it. And then we have made already several years of development, so we can right now make multi-volt carbon nanotubes. We can make carbon nanofibers, carbon black nanopowder, and also graphite. So the changing from one material to another is just changing the properties of the reactor, what we have. So, and all these materials are really valuable for different technologies, for different other new green technologies. So first of all, of course, starting from the energy storage, the materials can be fit to batteries, it can be fit to different electronics, it can fit to supercapacitors, so on. So these materials needed there. Also for talking about paints and coatings, for example, these marine coatings where the antifouling is needed. Carbon nanomaterials can also work there, and we don't need to produce these biocides that are needed there. Also concrete, for example, in construction industry. The concrete itself is a huge CO2 generator when making this cement. But if we could add, and if we add carbon nanotubes and carbon nanofibers into the concrete mixture, we can make the constructions much tinier, much thinner. And this way we can also avoid making cement CO2, we can avoid the CO2 generation in a cement production, just using less cement in the construction. And of course, then comes other technologies we can think about. There are many, many others, but also space technologies. So for example, James Webb Space Telescope. The frame of that is already made from carbon nanofibers. So there are a lot of possibilities for these materials. So that's what we need to work on. I would like to bring one more topic here, that what we can do, because in the beginning I showed that actually this CO2 concentration has been was stable for thousands of years, and last 100 years we actually increased it 50%. This technology allows us really to take the CO2 levels back to the pre-industrial era. What we need for that, we need, of course, electricity. But we have calculated that if we cover about 10% of Saharan desert with solar panels, then this technology is really potential to bring back the CO2 concentration to pre-industrial levels in 10 years. So this is really something. But of course, we cannot do anything without a great team. So really thanks to UpCatalyst team. We have been working hard for the last 3 years, and we will go beyond that. And what I would like to say is that our idea right now, or our first plans, are to secure the domestic supply chain of carbon materials, what are needed in European market, also in US market. And we would like to capture 1 million tons of CO2 per year by 2030. So this is also one of our aim. And the third thing, the most important thing today, as we are also part of European Space Agency program, is that we want to take this technology beyond Earth. So this technology really allows us to produce oxygen on Mars. The Mars also has environment of atmosphere CO2 concentration 96%, and this technology is also suitable there. So I have prepared one animation for that, so if we can start that. Thank you.
As the world strives to achieve a greener future, sustainable raw materials are needed more than ever. UpCatalyst's innovative electrolysis technology utilizes CO2 from industrial emissions to produce pure nanocarbon or graphite. With proof of concept complete, the next phase will see UpCatalyst develop a pilot synthesis reactor capable of absorbing 10 tons of CO2 per year, resulting in the production of approximately 2.7 tons of carbon material. Looking to the future, the next stage of production scale-up will involve the creation of a full-scale reactor unit. This reactor will be powered by wind, hydro, or solar energy and produce 760 tons of carbon materials annually, whilst extracting 2,800 tons of CO2 from industry emissions. These industrial-sized factories will be capable of producing around 70,000 tons of carbon nanomaterials and graphite, whilst extracting 250,000 tons of CO2 annually. This is the first scalable technology in the world to produce sustainable carbon materials, providing endless opportunities that go beyond this planet to an ambitious future in space, thus making Mars civilization possible. The Red Planet's exploration has been high on humankind's agenda, but its atmosphere is composed of 95.32% carbon dioxide with only 0.13% oxygen. UpCatalyst facilities will be placed on the Martian surface. Our method will reprocess the CO2 into oxygen and carbon materials. Oxygen will be collected as a fuel, propellant, for rocket and human civilization needs. Humans living on Mars, from far-fetched dream, will become a reality. The produced carbon materials will be used as a valuable resource on Mars for various applications. UpCatalyst, revolutionizing the production of carbon and oxygen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. That last video is tremendous. Estonian rockets taking off for Mars. It's just, all I can think of is some Estonian guy, some neighbor tried to talk to him, and he was like, fuck this. I'm out here. And then you know the Estonian guy's going to get to Mars. You're like, oh, not hot enough. I need sauna now. Yes, I make solar panel, good electricity. I love it. Estonian astronauts. Cool, man. So we have a few minutes to go. We got this. All right. So your devices, you're creating this technology that will take the CO2 out of the air. It's going to make this very valuable carbon substance for us. I've heard that's a great thing. Who's gonna? If I've got a big factory, who owns this device? Do I buy it from you or rent it, or how does that whole bit work?
Yeah, our aim is to build these factories. So it's like UpCatal is going to own these factories, and we will be the seller of the raw materials. So we are selling the carbon materials to the battery manufacturers and other industries as well.
Okay, how do you get the CO2 from the factory to from their factory to your factory?
The CO2, yeah, that's we can get it from the direct air capture. Other companies that actually provide the direct air capture, but it can be also we can place our factory next to the other industry who has this CO2 available.
So you're just like, yo, don't worry about it. I'm just going to beg a building here. I'm going to steal your CO2. Don't worry about nothing. Don't ask questions.
Absolutely, because they want to get rid of their CO2, so they want to pay for that. So.
Okay, I don't mean to sound like an uneducated moron in this situation, but it sounds what you're saying is like, we're going to just let the CO2, you let it go into the air, and we'll just grab it over here and everything.
Yeah, because they have to pay for that to get it, if they emit CO2.
So you don't want to pay them for their CO2, so you're like, I'll just set up shop next door.
Of
it's
course.
Like watching the sport game from the opposite hill, right? I don't want to pay, but I'll sit on the building.
Environmental rules are that actually they have to pay enormous amounts for the CO2, so this is
that
not
they're giving off to the atmosphere.
Yeah.
All right. Oh my God, who pays? This is a... Okay, and your process is going to be like for the amount of electricity that you pay, you've got a profitable business model in that.
We need electricity.
That's what your
true.
science has been working on to
Yeah.
cost of electricity versus cost of factory. You'll get enough carbon goodness out the other end to pay for this stuff. Interesting. I guess, yeah, that bit about that it's still got to go up in the air anyway, like that we can't just
then we have to just make direct air capture. And there are plenty other companies who are like working on that. A lot of startups in the world who are working on direct air capture. They can provide the CO2 to us. And out of that, we make carbon materials that are needed. So not just dumping it under the ocean somewhere, old mines or something like that, but we can really make some valuable material out of that.
Cool, man. All right, very good. What's this guy? Yeah.
We need employees in the Mars.
Okay. Is what they're going to look like on Mars. It sounds like a Beastie Boys concert on Mars. Cool. All right, Gary, thank you very much for your time today, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more round of applause.